Very much. Thank the gentleman from North Dakota, and I will recognize the gentlelady from Wyoming.
Thank you, and thank you for being here today. Call me a bit of a skeptic when I hear the Democrats talk about that we have to do these things just to save one life. Just one life. It is imperative that we destroy our Constitution and take away the constitutional rights of 330 million people just to save one life, when the Democrat Party right now is more radical on abortion than at any time in the history of the world. Their position on abortion and a woman's right to kill her baby is the most extreme position that they have ever taken. So I'm just a little bit skeptical when they talk about how critically important it was to force people to use masks or to be vaccinated just to save that one life when they've taken the position on abortion that they have. Ms. Hageman, as a parent and former teacher, can you describe the harm that the closure of schools and remote learning inflicted on your children?
Yes, thank you for the question. Well, as I said in my oral testimony and went into greater detail in my written testimony, that mostly for my youngest son, because he was a junior when schools closed, and then his entire senior year was virtual. The best word I can use to describe that is it just delegitimized school for him. And I know it's not just him, it's many of his peers. I've talked to lots of parents. I was involved with parents in my community trying to get schools to reopen, and it's the same thing. And I think you can see that with the chronic absenteeism that we're now dealing with. Not only did it delegitimize school for the students, but it delegitimized it for the parents as well, because let's be honest, the parents are the ones that need to prompt their children to get to school every day, and they're not seeing the need to do that quite as much. I was just told that I think 60% of the students here, the high school students in DC, are chronically absent, that's a big problem.
And a lot of that stems from the policy decisions that were made during COVID.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Did you know that the declines in reading and math achievement during the pandemic were among the largest declines observed in a single assessment cycle of the National Assessment of Educational Progress program?
Yes, I am very aware of that.
And can you describe how students with special educational needs may have been particularly affected by school closures, mask mandates, and other COVID-19 measures?
So those stories are particularly heartbreaking because the students with special needs were especially hurt by those policies, and the parents who really depended on the special education teachers who are tremendous at what they do. They were disconnected from them. I actually have a special education degree. It is very challenging to provide special education via a screen. In many cases, it's nearly impossible.
Are you aware that studies have shown that wearing a face mask in school has led to an increase in anxiety and depression and a decrease in communication and socialization skills development among our students?
I am aware of that, and I witness that on a very regular basis. I volunteer in a school that was actually started because their schools were closed. This is an urban school, and I walked in, and we were never masked in that school. And the students in that school who were just failing in their public schools are now thriving, but they were never masked. They're very social. They communicate. In fact, one has even testified in Frankfort, Kentucky, in front of the Education Committee. So I can see the vast difference between the students who were masked and shut out and the students who were allowed to be in person, unmasked, and fully children.
That's an excellent observation to make. And as a civil rights attorney, I think one of the things that was so stunning to me was how readily our elected officials and even our unelected officials were willing to go down the road of absolutely ignoring every aspect of the Bill of Rights by claiming that this was an emergency. And while I think for the first couple of weeks, people could understand, we didn't quite know what COVID-19 was. We didn't know how it was going to affect us. We didn't know what it was going to do. But pretty quickly, we figured it out. And then at that point, what we figured out and what we learned even more was that there are an awful lot of totalitarians that live among us, and they want to control every aspect of our lives. And we see it in so many areas. We see it with the global warming hysteria. We see it with this pandemic hysteria. We see it with their effort to try to turn over the decision-making authority of the United States to the WHO and the UN. I want to thank all of you for coming here today, being willing to testify, being willing to make sure that the historical record is accurate, because we can't prevent something from this like this from happening in the future unless we're prepared for it. So thank you for being here, thank you for being in the fight, and thank you for working to protect our civil liberties, unlike so many others on the other side who are unwilling to do that. Thank you.
I thank the gentlelady from Wyoming, and I certainly want to thank all of the witnesses. If you notice, we've been scurrying around. We've got votes that have been called.